Now, what is the problem with freedom of action? And I'm now going to be switching to calling it freedom of will, although you know that I don't mean the same thing as freedom to have the will that you choose to have. What is the problem with freedom, with free will? What is the free will problem as it's historically been construed? Well, it goes something like this. Let's define universal determinism as the thesis that states that every physical event that occurs in the universe has a prior sufficient physical condition. Universal determinism says every physical event that occurs in the universe has a prior sufficient physical condition. We're not assuming that every event is physical, just those physical events that occur are such that they have a prior sufficient physical condition, where that means that if one were, for example, to be fully aware of the initial conditions of the physical universe, you would be able to infer the next moment of the universe's physical condition. This is an idea that was formulated by the French scientist, sometime philosopher, probability theorist, mathematician, etc., Pierre-Simon Laplace. Here's an image of a stamp that you can find in contemporary France that could be used to mail a letter. Laplace's dates were 1749 to 1827. He was instrumental in developing what's now known as the Bayesian interpretation of probability. He was in fact called during his lifetime, the French Newton, rival with Isaac Newton for his prominence. He's one of the first scientists to posit the existence of black holes, just as we were impressed to learn, I think, that Kant was the first thinker, at least in the Western tradition, to posit the existence, hypothesize the existence of other galaxies. Laplace thought there might be black holes that could be used to explain various otherwise puzzling phenomena, and Laplace is one of only 72 people who have their name engraved on the Eiffel Tower. You can find the list of the remaining 71 prominent French citizens from times past, some of whose names you'll recognize, but Laplace is on that list as well. And Laplace said, he writes, "We ought to consider the present state of the universe as the effect of its previous state and as the cause of that which is to follow. An intelligence that, at a given instant, could comprehend all the forces by which nature is animated and the respective situation of the beings that make it up, if, moreover, it were vast enough to submit these data to analysis, for such an intelligence nothing would be uncertain, and the future, like the past, would be open to its eyes." This is from his book called The Philosophical Essay on Probabilities. That idea is now referred to as Laplace's demon. Think of Laplace's demon as follows. Laplace's demon is sort of a superphysicist with an extremely powerful computer at its side. And the idea of Laplace's demon is that if that demon, who's not necessarily malicious or malevolent, if that demon were able to determine the entire state of the physical universe at a given moment, then with enough calculation, with the computer, maybe a very large pad of paper, enough patience, then Laplace's demon would be able to calculate the entire physical state of the universe at a later moment, be it 1 second, or given that he's postulated, he'd be able to calculate what happens a second from now, maybe 5 seconds later, and then on that basis, another 5 seconds beyond that, and on that basis, another 10 seconds, and so on, churning forward as far into the future as he wishes to do. That is to say, Laplace's demon can predict all the later states of the universe, of the physical universe that is, on the basis of any earlier state, no matter how far forward or back in time. Notice that Laplace's demon only uses physics. We're not supposing for a moment that Laplace's demon has any supernatural powers. We're not defining Laplace's demon as having anything like omniscience. He's just got a very large but still finite mind, a very large but still finite computer, and is able to calculate this future state of the universe based on the current state of the universe. Now, that's a very powerful idea. Think of it intuitively in smaller terms. Think about on the more or less two-dimensional case of a billiards table. And if you've played pool, you know that if you know the current state of all the balls on the table and then can determine how one of the balls is hit, the amount of momentum, the angle at which it's hit, if you know enough about what the surface is like, the resistance on the part of the bumpers on the side, you should be able to calculate where all the balls will end up after all the energy is dissipated. And in fact, there are computer programs that approximate that pretty well. If you want to play billiards on your laptop or smartphone, it's not that hard to find an app that will allow you to do that. And what the machine does is calculate in a sort of quasi-physical way the future state of the system based on the current state of the system, assuming that it's a closed system. Now, take that idea and generalize it not just to 2 dimensions, but to 3 dimensions. Suppose you've got a 3-dimensional billiards table so that the balls are floating around in a fluid. Again, so long as you know the physics of the fluid and the way in which the position of all the balls and the way in which one of the balls is hit, even in now 3 dimensions, there should be no difference in principle to the possibility of calculating the end state of all the balls after one of them is hit, and hopefully hitting some of the others, making perhaps a couple of them go into corner or side, ceiling, etc. pockets. Now, if in fact, as seems to be well supported, your body is nothing but, so to speak, a large collection of billiard-type objects, that is atoms, that have various states of excitation, energy, etc., various bonding properties with others, making up molecules, and so on. If that's the case, then there should be no reason in principle why a superphysicist like Laplace's demon couldn't make predictions about the future state of your body based on the current state of your body, at least with regard to all the physical aspects thereof. That is, suppose that this morning Zeke gave over control of the information about you. He hasn't removed your brain from your cranium. Zeke relinquished all the information that he had about you over to Laplace's demon, and Laplace's demon does a lot of physical calculations, thinks hard, makes his calculating machine go very fast, whirs and spins, and now it makes a prediction that, for example, Maria, suppose your name is Maria, will be having a bowl of a certain type of cereal at exactly 8:17 a.m. Now, if that happens, then the predictor has made a prediction of your behavior based on the current physical state of the system that is you. And if we live in a deterministic system, that is, if the thesis of universal determinism is true, then that is to say that Laplace's demon could have predicted precisely what you'd have for breakfast and when, where, in what condition, in what orientation, etc., how much, before you even started eating, and perhaps even, presumably even before you even woke up. So that not only is your action predictable, but that it was the result of physical causes that were there occurring even before your day started.